Hi, Barbara. Thank you. And thank you, Tom. Thanks to Morris Arts for having me. Really happy to be part of the showcase. I've been a residency teacher for about 5 years with stop motion. But before that, I was actually in the same role that you're in today, reviewing artists and programs to bring to our school. So I want to thank you in advance for your time because I know you're here because you value education, art experiences for students. So I want to thank you for bringing them to your students. My stop motion animation program, as Barbara said, empowers students to find their voice and share ideas. And your students will explore their age appropriate storytelling and literacy skills. Plus, they'll have a lot of fun. And I'm proud that I'm teaching them to be creators, not just consumers of digital media, which is more important than ever. On the surface, I teach stop motion animation, which is the combination of single pictures that when you play them together, present the idea of movement to our eyes. And it's really an accessible form for all ages to tell stories. The artistic kids are totally in the minute I start telling them about what we're going to do, the ones that feel good about drawing. But there's always at least one student that comes up to me and says, I can't draw, I can't do this. And I said, don't worry, because we're drawing to plan and then you can cut things out, and it's really about the movement. And then very quickly, they are just as immersed as any of the other students in the classroom. So the stories they bring to life connect the students and engage the classmates in conversation after they share the movies. And it builds conversations and enhances the social emotional connection, even in the virtual environment. So let me show you some of their movies.
Rainbows. It's the most beautiful thing seen, and it doesn't come often. It has many colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. Clip, clap, click, clap. Unicorns go down the rainbow. As it glows, rainbows.
Earthquake. Tables move, shells fall, and plates shatter. While others wonder what's the matter. Underneath the surface, people worry. While earthquakes can be deadly, this one decides to stop and be nice for a change.
I'm going to teach you about a fish living in captivity. First thing, they swim to the left and then swim to the right. After that, they make bubbles. And they also like to eat too.
Hi, my name is Alex and I'm good at playing soccer. I'm trying to score. I take a shot and I scored. My teammates go to me and say, "Good job, Alex." When I go home, I tell my mom I scored and we're both proud.
So sometimes feedback I get after we watch all the movies together is how some of the quiet students come out of their shell. During virtual learning, especially virtual learning could be very hard for some kids that are shy. And in one moment in particular, in the end of the last school year, there was a student who was very quiet and then really was able to express a lot more. And the teacher and even the parents that had seen the screening had mentioned that. So I always feel great when that happens for students that are part of this program. I get excited to see their excitement when they see their movies move for the first time. And sometimes you can even hear a little click when they totally get it and they're ready to keep animating the rest of their movie. The students think they're just playing, but there's really a more layered experience going on. As I lead them through the steps of the design process, they're learning executive function and organizational skills. They're learning digital tools that they can utilize in the future, and they're building 21st century skills. At the end of the program, the students each author their own movie, and they see firsthand how to turn an idea into something. Now, you might not know that math plays a big role in our animations, but we need to understand the frame rate behind the movies and the number of frames per second. So knowing the frames per second helps us know how many pictures we're going to need to create. So the average movie that you would see in the theaters is about 24 frames, is generally 24 frames a second, which means you need 24 pictures for every second of that movie. For 30 seconds, that would be 720 frames. And if we keep calculating up to what is the average length of a movie that you might see, that will be just under 130,000 frames. Now the kids get pretty excited. There's always a couple math kids that are trying to calculate with me as I reveal the numbers. And I let them know that we're, and they've never thought of it that way, because when they see a movie, they don't think about it being made up of individual frames. We make our movies at 12 frames a second, which is still enough for them to get the illusion of the movie and a little bit more time friendly. We continue to talk through the process about the calculations. And for example, that movie that you saw with the fish that was going back and forth in the bowl, one of the sentences was, first they swim to the left. If that takes about 3 seconds to say, that would need 36 pictures. So they have to plan out how they're going to move that fish across the frames in those 36 pictures. So there's some pre-planning that goes on. Making art in the virtual environment has its challenges, but this program was actually built for the virtual environment because it's made with digital tools, and it's meant to be seen digitally. This series of workshops does have a prerequisite. The students do need access to a smartphone or a tablet. Sometimes I've seen Kindles work to create their animation. And certainly the issue of access to technology is important to me as a teaching artist, which was the motivation why I purchased a number of iPads so that I could bring them to schools. And when we're back in person together, I will do that again and continue to bring it to students that don't have access to these technologies. I can teach the program in Zoom or Google Meet, depending on what your school requires. And I can teach it 3rd grade and up. We define a program theme, a theme for your in a residency. I can create a prompt that your students can respond to, or I can tailor a prompt to match the units that you're doing in the classroom and utilize writing that they do with you. In one school, the students used poems as a springboard into their animation. And in another, I created a prompt to have them tell me something that they were really an expert in. Traditionally, the writing comes first, but I have collaborated with, for example, an ESL classroom where we had the students actually draw the pictures and then describe what was happening. And that also helped build their vocabulary skills. So I have a few more examples.
I am a kind and positive person. I touch the air, stars, and grass. I see mysterious objects in the sky. I feel worried inside. I understand how frustrating tests can be sometimes. I say a piece of the true meaning of our lives.
Hi, my name is Ayana. And I know a lot about basketball. Lots of people play it. Even I do. A basketball hoop is 10 feet tall. Do you play basketball?
Different animals live in different parts of the ocean. Even though they are all in different places, all animals in the ocean are connected through a food web. If you are on the bottom of the food web, you affect everyone above you. For example, small organisms called plankton are at the bottom of the food web. They are eaten by small fish that become food for larger fish. There are many factors that can have an effect on the food web, such as overfishing, loss of habitat, and water and plastic pollution.
Hi, math is my favorite subject, but I also like physical education. I love relaxing after a long day. I get inspired by new inventions, so I want to become a scientist when I grow up. Thank you for watching.
So thank you for watching those movies. At the end of one of my programs in the classroom, a student came up to me and he said, "Are we going to get a copy of this? Because this is like art." And I said, "Yes, it is like art. And yes, you'll get a copy." And it's moments like that that I love and inspire me to keep teaching. I love fostering the excitement in the classroom, and I learn something from every class I go to. I love the collaborative conversation, and what I learn layers into the next class. You can give me a call or email me to learn more about the details of the program and to talk about how you think it might fit into what you're doing in the classroom. I can't wait to hear the stories that your students have to tell. Now, if I think of some questions that people ask me, I don't know if we have any questions, Barbara, but I have a few that are often asked.
We haven't had any questions in the Q&A, so.
All right, so one question is, what's the best grade for this program? And I can certainly teach it 3rd grade and up. It's really, age doesn't matter for the program, but I think that grades 3 through 6 really thrive in this environment and this process. Another question I get is, what's the best theme? What's the best topic? And I love to work with something that you're using in the classroom because it really enhances what they're learning. It turns them into the teachers, and it just sort of builds on the momentum you have. I love to do the program with poetry because usually the topics are varied and interesting, and science projects, as you saw from the food web, work really well. The last question I often get is, how long are the movies that the kids make? And they're usually 30 to 60 seconds, which doesn't seem like a lot, but remember, that's 432 frames or 720 frames. So that's a lot of pictures. That's it for me.